Hey everyone, my name is Corbin, and I'm building my own kitchen cabinets. I'm hoping you can follow along and make something similar or learn some basic woodworking techniques. In the last episode, I made the kick area, the bottom piece, and then I attached the vertical sides to form the cabinet base. In this episode, I'll attach the face frame with some biscuit joints. Then, I'll add the back piece and fill in some of the supports for my farmhouse sink. I start by clamping the face frame onto the cabinet. I just hold it in place with one hand and jimmy the clamp on with the other hand. I align things so that it has about a 3/4 inch gap on the top, which is my design. I then go ahead and draw a few lines to mark the biscuit hole locations. Note that the biscuit joiner can only get so close to the horizontal rails, so I have to keep it a little ways away from them. My face frame, rails, and stiles are made from 1 1/4 inch wide pieces. I have one side of it flush to the plywood, and the other side will be inset by 1/2 inch. I cut the biscuits aligned on the flush side of the plywood. In this first cut, you can see why the biscuit joiner has to be a little bit more vertical or higher up on the piece to have it avoid hitting the bottom of the piece. Cutting the holes in the plywood is pretty easy and takes really no time at all. The face frame is a little trickier. I have to support it so that it doesn't break any of the pieces. It required me to get a little creative as I had to overhang the biscuit joiner on the flush side and make it align correctly.
It was easier when the biscuit was on the outside of the piece, as I could clamp it to something sturdy like my table saw and more easily do the cut. After doing a test fit, I glue up the face frame onto the cabinet base. I didn't record the process of me doing this, but I took some shots to show how I clamped everything together. I did record the glue up of one of the smaller cabinets. I start by adding some glue to the face frame. I then put glue on the cabinet base and stick the biscuits into the holes. The glue tends to drip down on the vertical pieces, so another way to do it is I could actually have the whole cabinet facing upwards and have it on its back. I align everything up and then I clamp it all together. On the inside of some of the pieces, I glue a 1/2 inch sheet of plywood along the inside so I have a nice area to add shelving to. This is a little trickier to glue up. I used a few biscuit joints and just glue it to the existing sides. It's harder to clamp, so I'll add little spacers like shown here to make it easier to clamp and apply pressure. While the glue is drying, I go ahead and cut out the back. I just cut a piece of 3/4 inch plywood to size based on the plans, and then I drill out pocket holes so I can easily pocket hole it in. I will do pocket holes down direct into the bottom and just drill some tap holes for directly inwards. I then go ahead and glue and screw on the back piece, and here it is, all looking assembled. I'm using a heavy farmhouse granite sink, and so I needed to make some nice supports for it, and so I just glued a few pieces of plywood together, and then I can actually go ahead and screw those on to the sides as supports for the sink. The SketchUp file and the plans show this. I just drill out a few of the holes so I can screw the sink supports on, and I need the screws to easily move and spin in the piece here. If they don't spin, it will be a lot harder to actually screw it on because I want the threads to thread into the cabinet and not these side pieces here. So once I had the sides supports drilled out with some pilot holes, I could go ahead and add some glue to the back and just clamp them on and then screw them on. So I also added a 3/4 inch plywood back piece, and then I went ahead and cut out a piece of plywood that will fit in here. And again, it's just using basic pocket hole joinery to hold it all together. You won't ever see this. And so I go ahead and put it in, and I went ahead and glue and screwed it in already, and that way you can do some test fitting. The next thing I needed to do was to test fit my granite sink into the location to make sure I didn't have to trim it up. The thing's really heavy and there was no way I could lift it by myself, so I kind of just hoisted it up with my engine hoist and had to stick some spacers under the cabinet so I could lift it up a bit. And eventually I got in. It took me a while and I was really cautious, but it does fit, and so I'm pretty excited. Alright, so that's basically completing the base cabinet. I attached the face frame to the cabinet base and create a support for my farmhouse sink. In the next episode, I'm going to be making the faces for the drawers and the doors. Should be pretty exciting. Subscribe and follow along to encourage me to make more videos. Thanks, everyone.